And you're listening to WSYC 88.7 FM here at Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. I am Luke Rainey.
I'm Andrew Mercier.
And we welcome you to our second edition of our radio show, Greek Speak. This is a special week because it's the first week where we're going to have guests on the program. So it will begin with Anthony McCloskey. He is the president of the Interfraternity Council here on campus, and he is also the president of the Pi Lambda Phi chapter. And then later in the show, we'll also be talking with Reid, who is a brother in the Kappa Sigma chapter here at Shippensburg University, and he has a special event planned related to diversity and our goals as a chapter to promote diverse efforts and grow our campus community in that regard. So we'll be talking with Reid in the second half of the show. Anthony will be taking over in the first half, and I'll let that conversation go between Andrew and Anthony. So for you two, I'll let Anthony take in and step into the floor.
What's up, Anthony? So, I guess I'll just start with a little quick question of what has been your Greek life experience so far?
Yeah, man. So I hopped in spring 22, so I'm getting ready to graduate 3 years in. I sort of bounced around, so I met all of the chapters, and honestly, like I said, in the past when we met previously, Pi Lam sort of just clicked with me. And I met some of the older guys, and they had same values, same morals, same beliefs. From there, I wanted to get into leadership, so I started with right when I was initiated into Pi Lam, took over recruitment, and then moved my way up to vice president, and now I'm the president. And then after that, same thing with IFC. I got into the vice president role, and then moved my way up. So. It's been fun, but definitely ready to slow down for sure.
Yeah. So we did mention earlier that we got we got elections coming up for both IFC and for Pi Lam. What do you foresee for those, for both of them? Do you see a possible successor?
Yeah. So for IFC, obviously it's always a toss-up because it's open to all fraternities, all chapters. I would love to see Pi Lam sort of keep the seat. When it comes to IFC elections, you do have to hold an exec position before going for president. So that's sort of how I got my role. So there's two guys that are hopefully rerunning and hopefully running against each other. I love a competition. And same exact thing with Pi Lam. I would love to have guys come in, shadow me, and really just sort of take my role, so they're ready for anything in the future. I think I have a pretty good grasp on who's next for sure,
though. What would you say is kind of the best thing you've learned from your leadership positions, kind of on both of the boards, in terms of your future?
For Pi Lam, obviously two different things. For Pi Lam, I would definitely say time management and obviously leadership values. Leading a group of 30 guys is not an easy task, and I couldn't even imagine obviously your chapter 50. Having that many guys to sort of keep an eye on and make sure they're good, making sure that it's personal with all of them. It's a very difficult task, and I think it really just prepared me for leadership, management. When it comes to IFC, it's more communication amongst the different chapters, sort of being on the same page with each different chapter, because everybody's so much different, but at the same time they're the same. They're just a fraternity. But yeah, just communicating with them and really building that relationship with the different chapters.
So I do kind of want to shift gears a little bit, but what's your major and what's your plans for after graduation?
So my major is supply chain management. My goal is to work in corporate America for 5 to 10 years. Had an internship last summer and this summer. And then I want to work for the Defense Logistics Agency. So working for the government doing logistics-based things, whether that be supply chain, data analytics, anything like that. Over COVID, I sort of saw the necessity for it, so that's sort of why I got into that. But
cool. So we recently did just have Rush Week for all of the organizations. How would you say it went for your organization?
Yeah, so this is the biggest class we've had since 2018. We have 6 in total, and it's a big success in my opinion because the past years we've had like 2 or 3, sometimes even just 1. So it's definitely a big success for us. Fraternity life as a whole, still, like I said, big success. Like I said earlier, we had about 40 guys come out for the fall. So the community is really still growing, and COVID obviously hit us pretty hard, but having a class of 6 for us in the fall, adding to a chapter to be around 35 guys is definitely big when we were down to about 18 right when I got in. So we're just glad to see everybody grow, though.
What would you say was like your best strategy for like fall recruitment? I mean, just sharing from my own personal experience. Usually the fall is very hard because of university guidelines requiring a GPA and credits. So like, same with Anthony. Like, we usually hit around like 5, 6, and then out of nowhere we pulled 15. I have no idea how that happened, but like, what would you say was your best like strategy for this fall recruitment?
Ultimately, we really hammered transfer students, and that was like a really, really big thing. We're also looking at a University 101 segment. I'll talk about that a little later for Greek life, but I think that would really benefit. But like I said, we really hammered the transfer students and had them come out to our events, even though they've only been here for 2 or 3 weeks. They were still interested in getting involved, and yeah, we really just latched onto them. We connected with them at more of like a personal level rather than just the rush events, inviting them over to the house, just playing video games, just chilling around. That was the big thing, and it really, really did work. We also had guys come out from like last semester who didn't want to rush. We just kept in touch with them and really just like had them come out to the events like normal, but sort of went that extra step and communicated with them like, hey, like, we understand you weren't ready last semester, but we're still here as a brotherhood, and you should really give it a shot, and it definitely worked.
What would you say was your most successful event? Like, what events did you guys hold this year?
Definitely the brisket and billiards. We always hold that. People love it. We go down to Redemption. Everybody just gets a bunch of like different foods, and then we play pool there. And then afterwards, we usually have an intramural game. So we invite all the new guys out to the IM game. It's always just worked for us really well, and we came up with it right after I got in, so I didn't get to experience on the rush level, but it seems like everyone enjoys it, and it really brings guys out.
Yeah, that's definitely an event that I see on your guys' flyer every year, and coming from someone that really likes Redemption, and we have brotherhood events at Redemption like once a month. Thanks, Zach Taylor. But yeah, no, that's definitely a great idea, and props to you guys on that. But what would you say, like, do you have any, like, advice for, like, your newer guys? Like, you know, coming from you being a senior and, like, you're on your way out, like, what would you say is, like, your advice to the newer guys?
I know we talked about this off the air, but don't sweat the small stuff and don't, like, stress out about classes and different, like, drama, I would say. That's the thing that's going to take the joy out of it for you, so don't let that happen. Hit the books hard. But yeah, just make sure to enjoy yourself. It flies by, and definitely enjoy it while you can, because it's really going to go by quick.
Yeah, I know we talked off the air, but you recently got inducted as for another organization as another president. Like, you want to talk about that? Like, dude, I swear you're the president of every organization on this campus, man.
Yeah, so Order of Omega doesn't do much. It's just the Greek Honor Society, so it's awesome to have Order of Omega on campus. It's around all, like, for most schools with Greek life, Order of Omega is usually there. We're still trying to get in the loop of how we want to grow Order, because in past years it's been unfortunately not too campus involved. But obviously we have an SGA budget. We're going to try to get out there. I don't know. I spoke with Bridget briefly. Bridget Allen, the Officer of Fraternity and Sorority Life Advisor. Greek Life is expecting a new room in the library. sort of like how athletics is. It's going to be downstairs in the basement, and it's going to be dedicated just for Greek life, which is really exciting. So I've been trying to help out with that as much as possible, but I'm hoping Order of Omega can really help with that, host study sessions, free food, things like that, just to try and get more Greek students in the lib.
So, like, what are, like, the requirements to, like, join that? Like, what's...
So you have to have a 3.0, and you have to be as junior status. So unfortunately, you only have a year in the organization, and that's why we see so much turnover. Obviously, if you graduate on time, you only have a year. So I think we just need to get a bigger fraternity life scene. We only have 3 fraternity men in it right now, out of the 13 or 14 members. So not the best, and I think if people understood that you only need a 3.0 and all you have to do is be a junior status and a member of a fraternity, and you can join. It looks great on a resume. It's like $100 for the initiation fee. We've been looking at ways to reduce that so people don't have to pay for it, because I think that would bring in more fraternity individuals and obviously sorority individuals as well. But we're just trying to find ways. We're trying to find ways for fraternity men to get involved in order, and it's been difficult, but I think it'll work out.
So what would you say is, like, what's going on with Pi Lam? Do you guys have anything exciting going on this week, next week, or, you know, anything cool planned for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so for Pi Lam, next week we have breast cancer awareness wristbands, Pi Lam breast cancer awareness wristbands for sale in the Cub. And then we're hoping this weekend to do dollar hot dogs at the Row. So just an easy way to bring in traffic for our philanthropy, really cheap and affordable for the students. In October, we have our annual pumpkin bash where we're smashing pumpkins for our philanthropy, the Elimination of Prejudice Foundation. So that's a lot of planning. It's like insane. I never expected to plan a pumpkin bash where people could smash pumpkins, and it takes so much time. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of what we have going on within the next month. Obviously, our goal is to host bi-weekly fundraisers, so people can be on the lookout for that, usually on campus, sometimes off. We're also involved in the Little League in Shippensburg, so we sponsored the Shippensburg Area Little League. We're hoping to go to some of their fall ball games. It's just been so rainy, so the schedule hasn't really been applicable, unfortunately. But yeah, that's sort of what we got going on, man.
That's great. I mean, I do want to ask, like, how did you guys get in touch with the Little League? Like, how did you guys get in terms of sponsoring them?
So it's right where, I forget the road, towards the Ruiz, the field. I would always drive past the field and see the different sponsors, like the signs on the side of the field. And I was like, one day I drove by and I was like, it'd be so cool if we could have some letters out there. So I just looked up Shippensburg Area Little League, and there it was, and we could sponsor. So last semester we sponsored them for $400. We got our sign in the back right field, and yeah, we sponsored them. Money for obviously field maintenance, concessions items, things like that. We also had the opportunity, unfortunately it was towards the end of the season, but to sponsor or to man the concession stand. So we're looking to do that this upcoming spring. But yeah, we're also looking to hopefully sponsor like an entire team. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the backs of jerseys, the sponsors on the backs of jerseys.
Yeah.
We just think it'd be really cool to see our letters on the back of jerseys and sponsor the entire team. So that's hopefully what's next for us in that regard.
Yeah, I think it's a great look. I mean, I end up going to Rite Aid all the time, so
Yeah.
I always see the letters, and I definitely think it does bring a smile to my face to see one of our organizations showcased. It's just a great way to showcase your letters and just kind of showcase you guys as an organization.
For sure.
I do want to ask, was the pumpkin bashing a new thing last year, or has that been something that you guys have done for a good period?
Yeah, so we started it last year. Last year was the first annual pumpkin bash. It went off really well. So my brother was in a fraternity at Millersville, Lambda Chi Alpha. Unfortunately, they're no longer here, and that is something like their tradition for their philanthropy. And I was sort of like, you know what, since Lambda Chi is not here anymore, somebody should do this for their philanthropy. So we took it over, and it's going to be our second annual pumpkin bash. This year we just plan on giving out like free hot dogs, free burgers, cornhole tournament, like water pong there, and obviously smashing pumpkins. But this year the goal is to make it more affordable for students to come out, because last year everything like had a ticket price, which didn't work out for some students. So we're going to try to make everything as affordable as possible, and hope to draw a bigger crowd. The only thing we're taking donations for is going to be the smashing of the pumpkins, in hopes just to sort of make our money back because they're super expensive. And then all the money that we make will be donated to the Elimination of Prejudice Foundation. So definitely a great event. It's October 26th this year. But yeah, we're going to try to get flyers up around campus here shortly.
Yeah, I mean, you guys always do really well with your flyers. I mean, your Rush flyers this year, they were purple and bright and like...
we try, man. We try.
I respect it. I do want to point out, like, your guys' shirts that you guys made for the pumpkin bashing last year, those things turned out pretty sick. Like,
we're going to be selling them in the Cub. We actually just got our new ones. I'll show you. Unfortunately, people are going to have to wait, but they are pretty cool. Let me see if I can find it. We go through TGI Greek, so they're the same price as last year. Short sleeves 26, long sleeve 32. But this year we got hoodies too for 45. We'll probably be selling them at the Cub. Other chapters to try to see what other fraternities do that way, because that's sort of like our big fundraiser for our philanthropy for the year, that our nationals requires. So, and it's a great time. We all have a blast, and I think more chapters should look into that.
Yeah. So I do want to ask, like, you know, what's the structure of, like, your executive board for PyLam? Like, for us, we have 5. We have our president, vice president, membership development, secretary, and treasurer. Like, I know that, like, for Phi Sigma Kappa, they have a completely different structure. So I was just kind of curious, like, what's the structure for you guys?
Yeah, so we obviously have Rex, that's the president. Then we have the marshal, which is the risk management / vice president for us. And then we have the Archon, which is the new member educator, Prolocutor, which is recruitment, and then we have the Scribe, which is our secretary. And then we have the Keeper of Exchange, which is finance. Everybody needs that. But all PyLams are different. We have, I think, 10 exec positions that we can have, and we choose to have 6. And then we obviously have a bunch of different chairs. I think the thing that we needed the most and that we didn't know we needed was the campus involvement chair for intramurals, because I was just doing it, or the president before me was just doing it, and it really took a lot of weight off of our shoulders, because that'll also help us get involved when it comes to like something like the Crab Fest. When we went to the Crab Fest, that was awesome. Like the campus involvement chair is in charge of finding these events that we can go to on campus as well. So that was the position that we needed the most that I didn't expect we did, and we just sort of created it.
Yeah, maybe it might have to take that idea.
Tap in, man. I'm telling you.
I mean, we have an intramural chair. Shout out Tice, but they do a fantastic job. I mean, one thing that we do as a chapter, and we're definitely gonna have to start coming up with some more chairs at this point with the rapid wave we're growing. You know, we're growing at such a rapid rate. But one thing that we do for our chapter is we require every person to hold a chair. Now, the chairs can, you know, weigh in significance. Like, it could literally, you could be a co-chair and literally do nothing. But, like, that's just something that we do to hold each other accountable and, like, make sure that we're all getting involved.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's kind of the structure of our meetings is our chairs will come in and then they'll just share what's going on, like what happened that week, and then, like, what's going on the next week, and then if there's any big events coming up. I mean, I think it all just helps in a professional setting of, like, you know, you got to prepare some notes of, like, what happened, you know, and like talking in front of other people. But
I mean, when I got elected, that was a goal of mine too. Ultimately, like, later down the road, I just sort of realized, like, hey, like, some guys are in this sort of, like, not fully. They have other things going on, and that's fine. Like, it's something that you have to accept. So, like, when I first got elected, I was like, I want everybody to hold a position. Like, I need everyone to hold a position so I know they're involved and I know they're paying attention. I know they're on the same page. But once people held positions and they, like, weren't guys that were not, they were more than capable, but they just didn't want it. That's when I sort of started to see like a downfall of performance in that position. So that's also something to look at for you guys. Like, make sure that these guys want it and want to hold a position of like leadership. Even if they're capable enough, they might have other things going. And that's sort of what I had to sort of accept. And it was hard, but it happened.
so for your elections are in November, right?
Yeah, they're in this November, second week.
So, is everything up for an election? Like, obviously the executive board would be, but like for like chairs and stuff like that, does that all reset during your election period, or is that something that you do like at the beginning of a semester?
So the only thing up for election that we're implementing this semester is social chair. It's not technically an exec position, but there's so much responsibility involved with being social chair. And I've never even been a social chair. I can just sort of see it from the outside, and I assist him any way I can. So it's our exec and social chair that's in November. And then usually, like, philanthropy, we try to keep on for an entire year, but we re-elect at the beginning of the year. And that's sort of how all of them are. If somebody is, like I said earlier, like lacking in performance and we see like a performance shift, we talk to them and see if they still want it or not. But yeah, we don't re-elect everything at once, just so it's like a smoother transition each time that elections sort of occur.
Right. Kind of one thing that we did this past year, so our elections are in May, but they're usually in May, but we moved them up to April this year. And one thing that we implemented, which I thought was really successful, was we did our elections, but then we didn't do our installation of officers until a month after. And that way, the new guys, including myself, were able to shadow the previous guys and go to the exec meetings and kind of ask questions from the previous regime. And I felt that it made a very smooth transition rather than just like, all right, now you're in your position.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that a lot of fraternities lack, including ours, is a transition plan. And IFC lacks that as well. There's nothing set in stone for transitions, which is horrible. So that's like my big goal as like my last hurrah for each organization is to finalize a transition plan, making that position. I want to not create a position, but sort of implement something where it's like the previous president has like a commander position where they meet with the current president, or the current president meets with the past president to make sure that everything's still running as it should, at least for the first semester, first few weeks even. But yeah, the transition period for all fraternities is really rough. It seems like you guys have everything together and you have something locked in place, but I think other chapters need to do that as well, including my own.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it was just something that we kind of tried, and we're like, let's see how this goes. And I think it really worked out. Like, just having each other all in like our exec group chat, and like, yeah, it got blown up a lot, but like, myself, like, I asked a lot of questions because like the person that I was taking over for was graduating. So, like, they weren't going to be here anymore. And, like, so I was like, I'd rather get my questions out now so that, like, I'm good. Like, I'm the vice president of membership development. Like, it's a really, really important position. Like, recruitment and all that's underneath me. Like, I have the mindset of, like, if I screw up, all this hard work and, good things that we've done over the last year kind of goes away.
For sure.
So, I do want to ask you, like, I know you guys had an IFC event yesterday. Like, do you just want to talk about what's going on with IFC?
Yeah, so this month in October, we're having a IFC toiletries drive. I'll talk about that a little later, but last night went really well. We actually got rid of all the free burgers and dogs by like 8:30, and the event started at 8, so that was awesome. We're trying to give back more because in previous IFCs, there wasn't much give back. We had all this money sitting in the bank account from our budget, and nobody wanted to give back. So that was my goal when I took over, is try to give back to the fraternities, give back to the student body as much as possible. When it comes to the toiletries drive, you guys know Can Wars from last semester. Same exact vibe, just with like toiletries, so like soap, body wash, shampoo, women's feminine products, things like that. There's going to be boxes in the cub with fraternities letters on them. People can donate to that fraternity, any toiletry, and then all the money raised in the month of October will be donated to that chapter's philanthropy with the most toiletries donated. So it's a really easy way, a passive way, to both donate to different organizations as a community, and then also give back to a philanthropy, obviously the winning philanthropy that of the fraternity that wins. But yeah, that's sort of our plans. We also have you guys remember the basketball game from last year? You played in that, right?
Yeah.
So we got a goober kickball game coming up. Same, like I said, same exact vibe. Should be a fun time, but more details soon on that one.
Yeah, I mean, coming from someone that participated, like, I think it was a whole lot of fun. Yeah, but thank you so much, Anthony, for sitting down and talking. Definitely learned a lot, and I'm going to transition over to Luke, and he'll get into talking with Reid.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anthony, and thank you for sharing a comprehensive perspective on all of pre-college, and as well as things about what your chapter has been doing in recent years and throughout this semester as well. So we're going to switch to the PSA real quick. On the other side of this break, it's going to be me and Reid Gross talking about the Mercy Week initiatives, as well as a special event that Reid is planning for our chapter. You're listening to WSYC 88.7 FM, Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this.
Oh yeah,
Mom,
that's cool.
you
I
are
want to hear.
so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
If you have opening position, like we just like,
Learn about adopting
you remember you were at the manual release event.
Yeah.
Literally, I just told Hindi, I was like, dude, we need to get like a diversity chair because like
We have one.
You do.
But like,
They,
it's just they can't do much. They can.
Listening live here on WSYC 88.7 FM. I'm Luke Rainey here, joined by Reid. Here is Reid Gross. He is a brother of Kappa Sigma chapter, newly initiated brother, just like I was back in spring of 2024 semester. So, Reid, I want to talk to you about that first because we're going to get into Diversity Week, and then, like I said, we're going to get into this special event. We're kind of not revealing it at first, but we'll eventually get to the details of that. But so you came in as a junior, and you're now a senior, so you only got 1 year left. But you pledged in your you became a brother in your sixth semester here on campus. So why did you join, and why did you wait until junior year to do it?
Well, my freshman year, I didn't really do much on campus. I was kind of just hanging out in my dorm and going to my classes. And then my second year, I kind of got the right roommates to start going out and met the right people. And then last year, I kind of kept in touch with those people. One of them being Sean Stanley, the part of our fraternity as well. And he kind of just told me I should join, so I just went from there, kept talking to him, kept talking to our current president, Hindi, as well, and he also kind of encouraged me to join. And there was a bunch of other people that I knew in there already, so I figured why not, and just did it.
You built the connections early, and that built the connections throughout the past year at least. And whenever you did, that certainly came to fruition. Whenever you did become a brother, and it was great to share that experience with you because I came in as a fourth semester student, so obviously a little bit sooner, but also a little bit behind the ball compared to the average person who's probably going in either second semester freshman year, third semester for first in their sophomore year. But yeah, it's been a good experience. I'm sure you've been enjoying it as well. But this past week here on Shippensburg's campus, it has been Diversity Week. A lot of great events that have been going on. The one event I was able to go to was political speed dating on Tuesday. Allison Dagnes, she is the political science department chair. She organizes that event each year. And what happens is the room is divided up between left-leaning people and right-leaning people. And there is a list of topics you can talk about. Any issue you can think of, whether it's a social issue, a policy-oriented issue, and you have about 2 or 3 minutes just to meet the person, get to know them personally, and then also discuss the topic you want to talk about. But at the end of every conversation, it's a requirement to find common ground in something, whether it's about the issue or not, it doesn't matter. But Dr. Dagnes does a fantastic job at organizing that event, so it was a really, really good program, and I was happy to be there. One of the brothers in our chapter, Michael Luzzi, he was also in attendance for that event too. But today is, of course, a big day because a quilt to cover us all. That's going to be taking place later today on campus, where different organizations are able to create a patch where their members can sign it, and then it is all stitched together as one comprehensive quilt. But this week, Reid, I imagine it's special to you for a number of reasons. So talk about your background with diversity. You're obviously serving on our diversity committee within our chapter, but why does it matter to you?
Oh, well, I mean, for me, I guess I wouldn't say I'm the most diverse out of everyone in our chapter, but I mean, I'm definitely not the same as almost everyone else. I am Jewish. I'm not very similar to a lot of people on this campus. I mean, from what I've seen from my first 2-3 years here, there hasn't been a lot of Jewish student representation. Obviously now we have the Jewish Student Organization, and I'm actually about to reach out to them to do an event with them for our fraternity and maybe do some fundraising with them or something to build a connection there and build a connection with all the different student organizations. But yeah, this week's very special to me and everyone on the diversity chair committee, and I mean, we're all diverse people. No person is the same as everyone else. Very good to share that diversity, and this week's just what they've done so far is the best way to share that.
Right. I want to talk about this event you said you have planned on next week. You give some details about it. So my understanding is that this is happening next Thursday for our chapter, October 3rd. It is a closed event within our chapter exclusively, I believe. But nonetheless, we're going to be enjoying some food tonight. So talk to us about what meals we'll be having.
So next Thursday I am hosting a event to celebrate 2 different holidays. One is Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and then the other one is Yom Kippur, which is a day of fasting and a day of atonement for sins in the religion. So I'm going to be cooking up a bunch of different foods. I've had people offer to help cook, so I'm probably going to have them help me as well. But we're going to be making brisket, latkes, matzo ball soup, and challah French toast.
It's awesome. It's great to have that. It's great that we're going to be able to enjoy that together. What are you hoping that people are able to learn about Jewish culture throughout that evening, with those foods and the traditions?
Oh, well, I mean, I just really hope people take away from it to kind of not be closed-minded, to kind of learn about this new culture and kind of be like, hey, this is kind of neat, this is interesting. Maybe they want to learn more about it on their own. Maybe they go and research other holidays afterwards. Maybe they just kind of look at people a bit differently than they did before. A lot of people go into things with stereotypes and perceive people a certain way. I want them to kind of go into this event. I mean, they could go in with whatever stereotypes they want. I want them to come out of it thinking, oh, wow, this is completely different than what I thought. I mean, I had a class yesterday. I'm in Latino pop culture, and now our class yesterday was all about stereotypes for Latin people.
Well, I think the one thing about the college experience that people often miss is that it really opens you up to different perspectives and different ways of life. I think I think the most interesting question that anybody can ever be, like you can ever ask anybody, is where are you from? And even if you're from a random middle of nowhere town in rural Pennsylvania, or maybe you're from a country that's sitting 7,000 miles away from here, I think there's still a compelling story, because the people we are today, it's absolutely shaped by our upbringing, it's shaped by the size of our community, the people who are in the community. And sometimes when that happens, if you're in a community that, again, like I grew up in a sparsely populated area, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love everything about it. But when you're in a small town, obviously you learn that that area is extremely important. There will never be anything that can ever replace or ever challenge that experience. But one thing that happens whenever you go to college is it is very much a melting pot of all sorts of people who not only come from different areas, but they think different ways about things. How do you believe college has changed you in a way that's opened you up to new perspectives as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, before I got to college, I probably would have never seen myself here in Greek life or a part of anything. I mean, the new perspectives I've seen from other people, especially people in Greek life like Drew and everyone else in our fraternity and people in other fraternities, I mean, kind of opened me up to that, and also the different perspectives from different people of different cultures. I mean, I've been more open to all of that stuff. I took a Spanish class. We went to an event for that. I went to an event for that class, and I learned a lot about that culture, and it really opened me up to more things from other cultures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the one thing, like I said earlier, it's like, whenever you go here and again you meet the new people and you learn different perspectives, you get to try new things in this environment that I don't necessarily know if you get to do it in the years that you have before you come here and the years you have after here, because again, college is all about growing the human experience. But I think one of the most interesting ways, though, when it comes to the most interesting conversations about diversity, though, it involves travel. Because some of the most interesting people I've ever met in my life, it happened because I traveled to different places. Here's one example. I went to a conference for a public relations group that I'm associated with here on campus in Nashville last year. And every time you talk to somebody, you're more and more impressed by the answer they give as far as where they're from. You hear stories about someone who came from Ukraine and fled that country as a result of the war that's taking place, and you get a new perspective because you're now seeing the direct result of what's going on over there through a human being who has come here to this country in the pursuit of freedom. It's an unbelievable thing. The person who I met, and she had an incredible story to tell, and it means so much to her life because obviously you're also dealing with family concerns, things like that. Whenever you're talking about something like an international war going on, but even then, hearing perspectives from people from whether it was California, Mississippi, even countries in South America is incredible. I think one of the coolest things that has happened though on this campus, however, is that there is a program where you get to meet where Fulbright scholars come to our campus. And they're here during the summer. So I was, of course, living here this summer. A number of us brothers were living here this summer. And there was a weekend where we were able to meet a number of Fulbright scholars. Like, you were here for this weekend, were you not?
Yes, I did come up for one day. I was intrigued when I was told there was people from out of the U.S. here. I kind of wanted to learn a bit more about them, where they come from. And it was definitely a great experience. I really feel like I got to know some of them and got to know where they came from and what it's like back where they're from.
Right, and I thought it was so fascinating because you talk to one person and you hear, oh, I'm from Ireland. You talk to another person, like they say, oh, I'm from Bosnia, I'm from Russia, I'm from Poland. And again, that strikes at the heart of a university's purpose of getting you to meet new people that you would never be able to meet in any different setting like that in such an easy way. And it is a great thing that our university has a program for Fulbright scholars from overseas to be able to come here, study here for a month, learn about American culture, learn about South Central Pennsylvania culture. I think they also, while they were here, not only did they do nature walks, things like that, get classroom experience, but I believe afterwards several of them went to New Mexico for a period of time, and I'm sure that their experience in New Mexico, I think they were there for a little bit less longer than they were here in Shippensburg, but I imagine it was totally different. And again, it strikes the heart of the college experience and also the American experience. I mean, we are indeed one of the most diverse countries in the world. There are a few countries quite like us where you have so many different people, again, all having a story to tell. But again, it strikes to your story, that you're going to help share to us next week, and we're so grateful for that. Because I think having that confidence to just showcase a culture that maybe not everybody's familiar with, I think it's incredible. So again, I'm really excited for next week. And again, you said you're hoping that we all come in maybe with our predispositions and our stereotypes, but we're going to be able to put those aside and learn a thing or two next week. And hopefully more just a thing or two, maybe a lot of things. But do you have any sort of educational program that's going to be tied into that evening then? I think you might have referenced it earlier, but can you dabble into like what you're looking at for that night?
Yeah, so for that night, I have a presentation set for the two holidays that it takes place around. The dinner does take place during the middle of Rosh Hashanah, so there's going to be a presentation with two slides one on each of the holidays, and I do have a little video of something relating to one of the holidays that, while I unfortunately can't do in person, I do have videos of it, and you will see and find out about that next Thursday. But yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this event. I mean, I grew up in an area where a lot of my friends were Jewish. I mean, it's hard to really think of my friend group and think of the people who aren't really Jewish, and the people who I grew up around, they're all Jewish. I grew up in a very Jewish area. There was a lot of synagogues, a lot of different Jewish culture items there. I mean, there was a lot of delis and all that kind of stuff. So it's very nice to be able to kind of share my culture and the things that I've been surrounded by my whole life growing up with the people here and the people that I get to call brothers and friends.
You mentioned earlier Jewish New Year coming up. So tell me a little bit about that holiday, that celebration. Like what is kind of the background for that? Where does that come from, that celebration?
Oh, well, I mean, it's really hard to describe the background behind it off the top of my head. I do have it is in the presentation, the background, but I mean, it's a part of it's all, next month, October, has the two holiest holidays in the Jewish religion. It is the first of the two being Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which we are going to be celebrating next Thursday. But that's really all I can really say right now.
No, I
don't want to give away too much.
Yeah,
you're going to hear about it next week.
6 days from now, the countdown is certainly on, and it is a great little, I won't even call it a substitution, I'd say it's more of an enhancement, because every Thursday our chapter does get together for a brotherhood dinner where it's us and the people who are affiliated with our chapter in any way, but we'll go somewhere on campus. On a rare occasion we'll go somewhere off campus, but I think it's an exceptionally rare thing for it to be an event where we're gonna have people preparing food, and then there's going to be an educational component going on to it. So when did you get this idea of I can do this, and here's how it's going to come about?
Oh, well, I mean, the idea kind of came about when I found out about the chair. I mean, they brought the chair up, and they asked who wanted to be a part of it. I mean, I raised my hand almost instantly. I kind of got the chair, got on the committee with Mike Luzzi and Theo, and I kind of just went from there and was like, okay, what can I do with this chair to showcase myself and the other people that are diverse in our fraternity and around the campus. And the first thing that came to mind for me was this event, and after that it went to what can we do related to this event with everything else. And, I mean, after this one I kind of have plans to try and do 2 of these a semester, one more focused on one culture and then one focused on just cultures from everyone that can go to these events. So
Yeah.
anyone in our brotherhood can bring in food from whatever culture they're from, and everyone can try that and really just experience a new culture.
Well, it's a phenomenal story, I think. That's a great little way to come the beach ball. That idea almost immediately after the chair is created. And we had Anthony on the show earlier, and during his conversation with Andrew, I think one of the things that stuck out to me is a lot of times the chair position that you're in, whether it is an executive chair or a sub chair underneath the executive, it's about what you make of that chair. And sometimes I think there's people who just they fail to take off in the chair, like they get it and they're like, I don't really know exactly what I need to do with it, what's my purpose with it. And that's where I serve as the public relations chair for the fraternity and running the social media. Andrew luckily was the one who was doing it before I stepped in, and Andrew kind of had a good foundation for what I could do with it. But I also decided to create some new ideas, largely with the inspiration and the encouragement of Andrew.
And the 3-2.
Obviously, the big celebration that we had, the big achievement, was creating the promotional video for our Rush Week. That has, at this point, I imagine it has grossed over 10,000 engagements. So to anybody who has watched or interacted with it in any way, shape, or form, we certainly appreciate it. But I was very proud of that end product. But luckily, again, I had someone behind me kind of encouraging me, someone who has done this before. This is a new chair. This chair is brand new to the chapter. We thank Manuel Ruiz for kind of getting this idea planted in our heads a couple weeks ago at a meeting that he had with some of our executive officers to have a diversity chair. And not only do we have a chair, we now have a committee for it. So it was it's really a great thing. And again, for you to be able to come up with that idea instantaneously, here's a way that you don't just, we're talking about it now, but we're actually going to live it. So we're talking the talk, but we're also going to walk the walk next week. So again, great job with this idea. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that. I mean, the idea wasn't, like, it came from me, but it wasn't just me. I mean, Drew helped out. Obviously, the chair is kind of a part of his executive position. It's under him. Lucy helped. I mean, everyone that is a part of this committee and that is a part of this fraternity really helped flesh this idea out and bring it to life. Zach Taylor with his brotherhood dinners, I mean, and he's been messaging me about like how I want it to be set up and how everything, like everyone's involved.
Isn't that,
it's not just me doing this? It's
right? And isn't that sometimes the biggest challenge with anything? It's about like you have a great idea, but the execution of it is sometimes it feels very daunting at times. Like even with the promotional video, the execution is an entirely different story from the idea itself. But again, you execute on the event, and that's what you guys are doing right now. To have it set in stone, you have it figured out who's going to be preparing the food. You have the presentation ready to go. That's going to be awesome. And again, it's a testament to good leadership skills to be able to make something like that happen. But I also think it ties very well into your position as historian in the fraternity. So what is historian exactly? So for those listening at home, tell them what that position entails and how that impacts the fraternity.
Well, so my position as historian is an interesting one. I gather photos and videos from the brothers, and I give presentations every once in a while on the events from weeks prior or the month that just passed. I actually have one this upcoming weekend on our brotherhood event and our Rush Week.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to give that presentation. I've received a lot of stuff over the past 24 hours to put in the presentation, and I find you, Drew, and everyone else in our fraternity will be very pleased with what they see.
That's awesome, yeah, because Rush Week, it was an unforgettable one. Of course, for our chapter, it was a record-breaking performance, and again, a testament to everybody in our chapter. But to be able to welcome in as many people as we did for the fall semester, again, one that is notorious for having low numbers, low interest, just because, again, the first semester freshman rule is in place. But for us to have been able to overcome that barrier and still have, again, record success for this semester, I mean, it is really incredible. But yeah, those Rush Week highlights, I mean, we have plenty of those, and then we even had Alex Staub in our chapter, he did a fantastic job. Got all the video equipment in the world, camera quality, everything like that. So we really enhanced our media engagement throughout that week. And it's very important to do that because, again, it shows an element of professionalism, number one, but it also gives people a reason to be a part of something. You see these high quality photos and you think, man, I can get a good picture of myself involved playing some sport and with these guys, you know, that camera flashing. I mean, that's a really good thing. But yeah, I mean, for a historian position, I'll say this, like, listening to the presentations each week, and it's a very lighthearted point because it's like, you know, you think historian, you know, you're kind of, it's not like you're sitting through a textbook or anything whenever those presentations come up. They're memories. You know, those are the photos that in many ways they have defined, you know, they've defined our chapter and they define all the parts that make us good. So yeah, thank you for always encouraging us to submit to that. And I tell everybody listening at home, and especially if you're listening and involved as a brother of Kappa Sigma, and you have photos from Rush Week, please send some photos. We need a good presentation, and you got to help out Reid because Reid's helping us right now by being on this show. So do Reid a favor and help him out. I'm sure he'd appreciate it, right?
I would greatly appreciate that. I mean, I do have a decent selection of photos right now. I think you will definitely appreciate them. Drew will appreciate them. I mean, everyone involved with the fraternity is going to get a great presentation. Whether I have to use the photos I have now or whether I get more photos, everyone's going to be very pleased with what happens on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, and that also ties into even then like a more broader aspect of monitoring like what goes on within like the photo distribution, you know, portals that we have set up already for something like that. But then now I did decide this past week that it would be good to have a public relations committee within the fraternity, and I have you on there for that reason of, okay, well, we're going to take all these photos, but we're going to select the ones that we can absolutely, we are extremely proud of these ones, exceptionally proud, and then we're going to promote them on our own social media platforms for really, literally, the entire world to have access to on our public Instagram account. So I think the sky is really the limit, you know, for both of your positions. I think historian, again, captures the essence of our fraternity, number one. But number two, your position on the diversity committee. I'm so excited to see what exactly that's going to do for our chapter, and I hope you're excited about it too.
Yeah, I mean, the diversity events don't stop with just this dinner on Thursday, and like diversity week is, for me, it's like, it might just be this week for the whole campus, but for us as a brotherhood, I mean, it's going to be like diversity year. We're going to really diversify ourselves, and I'm really going to put us into a place where we can really learn about new cultures like every week if we can. I mean,
yeah, and I think it's also going to be a huge initiative to do that, and again to promote those efforts, because what's going to happen here on the flip side is, again, you know, Andrew is extremely involved when it comes to recruitment efforts and things like that, attracting new people to our fraternity. And so it's a wonderful effort because it's, you know, we want to find people from all different walks of life possible, and I think being on as a diversity chair and exposing us to different cultures, it makes us more ready to, again, meet more people on this campus, and again, you know, show them that, you know, we have a great community.
yeah, I mean, that's the best part about being on this chair. I get to kind of expose everyone to different cultures that they might not have been exposed to before, and I kind of get to like show people that, hey, like, you might have thought we're not diverse, but like, we are a diverse place. And you know, I feel like this will probably increase the numbers that we can bring in, because people are going to realize that we're not who they might have thought we were before, from just getting a look at the people involved and the people in this fraternity. I mean, a big part of what I want to do with it is kind of bring in new people, and I kind of want to help with Rush and bring in people that are diverse, you know. I feel like that's going to be a big help with this chair, is getting more diversity in Greek life, be it ours or any other fraternity.
Absolutely. Well, Reid and then Anthony still in the studio as well. We thank you both for your time this morning with Greek Speak. Again, great conversations, learned a lot from both of you, and this was our first time having guests on the show, so we appreciate both of you for kind of taking the jump and taking the initiative to be with us today. The conversations will continue next week. here on WSYC 88.7 FM, Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. Thank you for listening to Greek Speak, and we'll see you next week.